Welcome to the Creation to Cash Flow podcast, where we discuss strategies to maximize your creativity and help you achieve financial freedom. Michelle, how's it going?
It's going wonderful. The sun is shining again in Los Angeles. How are you doing?
That's a beautiful thing. I am doing great, fresh off of Memorial Day weekend on the Jersey Shore. This is the place to be when summer hits, and boy, was it nice. Took a little bit of time, completely unplugged. Um, Not even planned, and it just was really nice and refreshing. And that's actually what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about taking breaks and dealing with setbacks, because these two things kind of go hand in hand, right? Sometimes you're taking a break by choice, and other times maybe something set you back and you got to take a little pause. Let's get right into this. Michelle, I would love to know, when was the last time you had a full 3 days off in a row?
Oh, I maybe when I was in no, not even high school. I haven't really. It was my honeymoon when I went to Canada. It was May 2019 was the
Oh my
last
goodness.
time, and it is May 2023.
That's so funny. I knew you would have a good answer to that question. Mine is a little more recent, because having only started like my Get Ahead with Nick related business a little less than 3 years ago, when I had my full time job, if I structured my days off properly, sometimes I'd have 3 or 4 days off in a row. But I was always craving that time off because I hated what I did every day. So it's a lot different when you start doing something that you love, and that's what you get paid to do as well. It's weird taking time off. I don't like it. I don't want to. Like, it was nice to have one day off Monday, but it's not even like I didn't do nothing on Monday. Like, I still think I put up a piece of short form content, and like, so I don't know. Time off is this weird thing, but would you say that that's pretty much how it goes, Michelle? Like, when you're working on something you love, you can take time off, but you don't even want to.
No, I like stress out at the thought that I have to like be more present and like take time off. I know that I have vacations coming up and I'm like, okay, I got to like be present because I know that I want to spend time with the family and not like feel like I'm just working all the time, but it stresses me out because I'm like I want to work and I'm going to be like craving to go back and like get work done and leave the vacation because it used to be flip flop. I used to crave the vacation and I'd be like, oh, I have to go back to work. But now I'm like, oh, I don't, I don't want to stop. I'm not ready yet. Yeah, I love what I do.
Yep. I couldn't have said it better myself. Like, I'm going to Puerto Rico next week, so that's where I will be recording our podcast from. And like, we don't have to do it. Like, we're many episodes ahead. Like, I don't have to do any work that week if I didn't want to. Like, financially, we're fine. In terms of where the business is at, we're fine. Brands meet creators, everything is fine. But like, I want to keep working on these things. Just because I don't have to doesn't mean I don't want to, which, if you're listening to this and you still have a full-time job, like, I know that sounds like we're absolutely crazy people, and suddenly you're like, I don't relate to them anymore. But I promise, like, this is truly what starts to happen. Like, when I go on a vacation, I'm like, all right, like, I want to make sure I bring my laptop so I can still work and send emails. And I want to cater my trip around this and be able to like enjoy time off and relax, but also still get the feeling of being productive. All right, so here's a question that we get all the time that I want to cover. What is your relationship, Michelle, with like the attitude of like constant needing to hustle, need to work, work, work every day, as well as like trusting the process? Because people always seem to think that you have to be on one side or the other. And I want to hear your take on this first before I get into mine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a hustle type of person if I am sacrificing my own well being. I like being uncomfortable. I like working hard. I like doing things for little splurts at a time, like for 22 days at a time, I'll like stick to something. But if I'm going to be putting myself into a state of mind where I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed, then I'm just going to take a step back because I don't want to be that way. I want to be in the middle as much as I can between working hard and doing my best, but also having the patience to know that like exactly where I'm at is where I'm meant to be. And yes, I can do things to get further ahead, but sometimes that's out of my control when that happens. I'm going to stick to doing what I know I should do and not let distractions distract me from what I need to do every day. Like if I am sitting there just binging TV, I know that's not living my best. And it doesn't really make me happy when I'm done watching it. So it's just like finding the balance between getting enough work done, but also not sacrificing that like mental state.
Yeah, you said that pretty perfectly. Like I used to flip-flop all the time, like when I was working the full-time job and trying to grow my business to the point where I could quit the job I hated. I was always like flip-flopping between like waking up at 5 a.m. doing affirmations and like looking at my vision board and journaling every morning to then like switching completely to being like, well, this time would be better used if I just woke up at 5 a.m. and did work until 8 a.m. that actually moves the needle forward. And then I realized that like there's not just this one-sided solution where like you have to be in that grind mode or you have to be in that like manifestation, trust the process and it'll happen. Like I love living in between those both. You need to balance these things because like my morning routines that I used to love and I'm like I get up and I'll do yoga for a half hour and then I'll go for a walk and then I'll journal and then I'll meditate and then I'll do breath work and it's like it becomes a form of procrastination eventually, and you really have to check yourself and be like, am I doing enough meaningful work every day that's moving the needle forward without totally burning myself out, but am I also keeping my mind in check and doing things that make me feel good and like really working to manifest all of this? Like I don't think I would have gotten any of this done if it wasn't for my vision board because it kept my goals top of mind. I would see it every morning when I had it above my mirror at home and in my cubicle. I could not escape the fact that I didn't love my reality and I needed to work towards something better for myself. But also, if all you do is work, work, work all day, every day, like, what is any of this for?
Yeah, that's the thing is like I love working. Yes, it's hard to take a vacation, but if I need one, I will take one. There's nothing that is more important to me than my mindset because my mindset is what will get me to the goals. My mindset is what will get me to having a productive day. So if I'm not taking care of that first in the morning every day, then what I'm doing is just going to accumulate and compound into something that ends up not being good for me, even if it seems like I'm working hard, but you might be working hard towards nothing beneficial.
It's true. It's so important to know like exactly what you're working towards. And I was reading this book the other day, and I hate myself because I can't remember the name of it, even though I'm almost done with it. When you're reading the words, I guess you don't read the title all that often. But anyway, it's all about structuring your day. And like we've all had these bits and pieces. This is right from the book, which I'll find the name and put it in the description of the podcast. But it's all about finding ways to structure your day to create a day that you love and that has balance in it. It's not a good formula to try and like work, work, work until you're totally burnt out for 3 months and then have to take a week vacation and then come back and you're just exhausted and like you're about to do it again. If every day has balance in it, you have some time totally unplugged from your devices. You have some time to move your body. That's so important. And you also have some time where you got meaningful work done that moves the needle. When every day is like that, you don't need these week-long vacations to just do nothing. Like you instead want to keep that daily balance so you're not trying to like push yourself, push yourself, push yourself until you need a break. That's not really a healthy way to go about it.
Right. And like when I do things for 22 days, it's so funny because my 22 days is like, I am going to have balance for 22 days. I'm going to stick to one goal and then I'm going to do morning routine, make sure I'm exercising and meditating and all of these things. It's not that I'm like, I'm going to work from 5 a.m. to 2 a.m. every single day for 22 days. No, it's the opposite. It's like I'm going to be mindful of my time And I should do that every day, but it's sometimes a lot less overwhelming when I'm like, okay, for 22 days, I'm going to keep track of every single minute that I'm spending on whatever I'm doing that day.
Yeah, totally, totally. So now I want to ask you, what do you do on your off days? And not meaning like a day where you decided you're not going to do anything. What do you do on your days where you're not feeling it? Does anything change?
Yes. At first, I was like, what's an off day? Like, I don't take days off
Right.
Monday through Sunday. But yeah, on my days I'm feeling off, which does happen more often than I would like it to. I'm going to be honest. Like, that's one of the benefits of being self employed is like when I have that day, I can tell people, like, hey, something came up. Because a lot of times with ADHD, my brain just is not performing as well as I would like it to. It's just how it is. It's like not every single day is going to be the same for me. And I've accepted that and I'm working through it. But it's like on days that I feel off, I allow myself and give myself permission to take a step back without feeling guilty. I used to feel guilty and push myself and be like, no, I have to show up. I have to do this. I'm going to push through it. And sometimes I do. And I really enjoy that. But I've learned when is it too much I'm pushing myself and when do I need to stop and just like listen to my body and go just sit in silence on the ground in the sun and like close my eyes and like do some breath work. There is a time where I don't get it right and I'm like, dang, I pushed myself a little too much. But I learned my lesson, and then next time I know, okay, when I'm feeling this way, here's what I need to do. And it doesn't look the same for everyone. But I think that just like feeling the empowerment of knowing that my body is feeling this way because it's trying to help me and not limit me, that's a huge thing. But I do know that I am very antisocial sometimes. And I know when I start talking in a meeting, I suddenly like get in the zone and I'm like good for the rest of the day. So there's a balance.
Yeah. All right. So I kind of go through something similar too. Like when I'm having one of those off days where I'm just really not feeling it, I will always go back to like my mental and my physical health. And I'm like, what things can I do that will make me feel okay again? And that almost always includes going and taking a hot yoga class.
Yes, working out. Yes. I usually go to the gym.
Yeah, something to just like fully clear and cleanse me. And I love a hot yoga class because it's like the breath work, the movement, but also like sweating out like a pound of my own body weight helps like really press the reset button. And if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't want to take a hot yoga class every time I'm having an off day. Like, it's not about that. It's about finding the thing for you. Like for you, Michelle, it might be hitting the Stairmaster for an hour and just listening to your thoughts or a podcast, right? I think I nailed it. Other people, though, like you're going to have to find your thing. Maybe it's a 20-minute walk, or maybe it's running a half marathon or something in between. Like you're going to have to come to know yourself as a business owner. Like you're forced to address these character flaws and be like, what do I do when I'm having an off day? Meanwhile, at your 9 to 5, like it doesn't really matter. You got to show up to work tomorrow, whether you feel like it or not. And that's how you get stuck in this cycle of like burnout and depression.
Mhm.
That's really not good.
Yes.
If you can figure out and give yourself the space to be like, what do I do when I need to press the reset button? That will give you all of the power and energy in the world because you just press reset when you need it.
It's so true. Oh my gosh. This is like probably my favorite topic ever, honestly, because self awareness, and we bring this up a lot of your entrepreneurial journey is becoming more self aware, learning more about you and what you need and what your refilling, recharging exercise looks like. It's just so important. And I remember those times I would have to still show up to the meeting. I couldn't reschedule or I couldn't take a step back and go sit in my backyard in the sun. No, I had to show up to this freezing cold building without any natural light coming in, and it was dark and cluttered, and it was just like sad. And it led me to a depressive state and burnout. And I never want to feel that way again. And that's why I allow myself the time to just stop. Like if I have a ton of stuff to film, but I'm not feeling it, I'm like, okay, I prep and I don't procrastinate for a reason. It's going to be okay. I'm going to take a step back and go do something that maybe will give me energy. And going back to the calls, like a lot of times I feel off and I can't put my thoughts together. You've experienced a conversation with me where I'm like, my brain literally isn't braining right now. Like it's just
Yep.
done. And a lot of times when I just start talking, it's like my thoughts come together again. And I know that works for me. So if there's a safe place that I can have a conversation, I will. But I've learned that about me. Some people need to just completely disconnect, and that's okay. Like whatever works for you, do it. And don't judge others for doing something that doesn't work for you. That's important too. A lot of people are like, no, you have to do this because it works. Just because it works for you doesn't mean it works for everyone else, and vice versa.
I'm really happy you mentioned like your brain not braining and when we have those conversations because like so we plan out our podcast usually 2 days before, and we've had those conversations before where I'm like, Michelle, what should we talk about this week? Because I'm like a direct problem solver, and Michelle is like the creativity side of this, and it balances each other out perfectly. But sometimes you're just like, it's been a day. My brain isn't braining. And I even know like your thing of like, okay, like, so I need to ask you questions and like, I can extract this information from you. I know it's there. And once I start getting you on a roll, you're back. So, like, other people even can learn the things that you need to do when you're feeling overwhelmed. Like, I used to do this at my full time job all the time because if I'm at work and I'm feeling burnt out or overwhelmed, like, I can't leave work and go take a 75-minute yoga class and go home and shower and just like be gone for 4 hours. I would go out to my car and I would, let's say I had 8 minutes. This is usually what I would do. I'm like, oh, I got 8 minutes. I would go out to my car, set a timer for 7 minutes, seat all the way back, take a 7 minute nap. And like a lot of people can't do that. I can. I'm one of those people. Yeah, I'm one of those people that I'm like, okay, quick nap. I could fall asleep on a roller coaster if I needed. But that was like my thing. Like I kind of figured it out. Like that's my little routine where if I'm feeling overwhelmed or a little burnt out and I need to just press the restart button real quick, like this is something I could do that helps my mental and physical health. Because chances are I'm tired, one, so I'll catch up on that. And two, like it's just clearing my mind of all of the chatter. So knowing what works for you, the listener, letting your family and friends know too. Like this
Yes.
is an unspoken thing with me and Michelle. Like if she's having one of those days, I will not send her a million long text messages. I will give her a little space and I'll check in a bit.
Yeah, and you ask me questions, and I think it's so important that once we become aware of where our weaknesses are, to communicate that to friends and family so they know what they should do or how they can support us in that moment too. Like even our little kids, not that we have kids yet, but little kids have these little moments, and parents typically learn how to handle it, some more than others, better than others, but they understand how that specific person is wired, that little child. We as adults sometimes forget to prioritize ourselves. And I think it's so important that no, we still have things that we need to be recharged from, and learning how that is a recharging for us and communicating that, hey, I need to edit a video on the Stairmaster right now because I'm feeling really drained. When I go to the Stairmaster and I'm editing, as soon as I'm done, I'm like, I'm recharged. I'm good. My husband needs a 7 minute nap. He needs to go take a little nap. I could never do that in a million years. But I appreciate him doing that, and he understands me and gives me the space to do what I need to do. And it's just so important to communicate that.
Yeah, I think we said some really powerful stuff there. So if you're listening and you're just like, I don't have a clue, like what is my thing? You need to go try some new stuff. Go try taking a yoga class. Go for a 30-minute walk. Go sit at a park and leave your phone in the car. Oh my God, not having your phone with you for 30 minutes. Like, these are the things you need to do. Like, in order to take a step back and figure out, like, what fixes your mental and physical health, you need to disconnect from your phone. Otherwise, you will never have the space. Like, even it used to make me really sad when I would see people do this like at my full-time job. So many of my friends there would just go sit in the bathroom and just sit on their phone for 10 minutes. And I'm like, "Oh my God, do you have any space at all where you just allow yourself to think your own thoughts?" Like, I never bring my phone in the bathroom unless I'm in a place where I'm like, I shouldn't leave this here. Someone's going to steal it. But like, you need to give yourself the space to think, to unplug and take a step back so you can listen to your thoughts and try to figure out like what would fix me right now if I'm feeling burnt out or overwhelmed or I just got hit with some bad news. Like, going on your phone will literally never help or solve that. You need to unplug and play around with some self development routines. Try a cold shower, try a hot shower, try a 7-minute nap, a yoga class, a walk, a run. There are so many things you could do. But if you never give yourself the space to try something like that, the feeling isn't going to go away.
So true. And I remember when my husband came home and we were editing our other podcast that mentioned the phone in the bathroom thing. He went to go to the restroom and grabbed his phone and looked at me and was like, I'm just going to leave this here. And he went and he didn't spend as much time in there. And I was like, score. Like, this is awesome. So, ladies, tell your man to stop bringing his phone into the restroom because it is like, for one, that's kind of unsanitary, but two, it is kind of a waste of time, and you can spend that moment reflecting. Just reflect on your thoughts and breathe. Don't consume more, you know?
Yeah, I'm glad you did. That was really that was funny the way you worded it too. I guess it's not very sanitary. So
No.
if that's the reason that keeps whatever you got to do, and oh my God, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, you'll appreciate this. And if you've heard me say it again or a couple of times already, good, because you need to do this. Move your phone charger away from your bed. I don't care if I need to say it every episode, it will change your life. When your alarm goes off, you'll actually get up and turn it off. Like, when you start your day and you're sleeping and you reach for your phone and like suddenly Instagram is open now and you're just scrolling, like, oh my God, you're setting yourself up for the worst day in the world. And it's so scary. Please, if you're listening to this, go into your bedroom. I know your charger's next to your bed. Unplug it, put it across the room, try it for 2 nights. You're going to sleep better because your phone is not next to your head giving off electromagnetic radiation. That's a big thing and another topic for, I don't know, maybe we'll get like a scientist or a neuropsychologist on here to talk about it and convince you guys to do it. Um, do you have anything to add to that, Michelle, before we move on?
Yeah, so I use this app called Sleep Cycle. So I have to have my phone near my head. And also, I have to set an alarm to take my ADHD medication. And then I kind of doze back off or sleep or whatever. But I put my 5-minute journal on top of my phone. So when I roll over in the morning and scroll to turn the alarm off, like I have to like reach for my 5-minute journal and then I'm like, oh, I have to do this. It's in my hand. So then I just turn the alarm off and then I immediately open it and start writing. And I know, like, I'm not going to just go put this down and grab my phone. I'm going to put this down and make the bed. Like, that's been a habit that I have. And it's like, I can't just roll over and grab my phone. There's things blocking it. Like, I just can't. So even if it's not across the room, it's still very hard to get to. And I hate those times. I haven't done it in a long time, but when I would just roll over and start consuming emails or socials or I my day is just so different when I don't do that. And that's why it's like that feeling of I feel gross right now. Like I just want to like do something else. I don't scroll anymore. I just can't do it. So yeah, make it hard to grab your phone if you need it by your head to like get the little rhythm and like it tracks a lot of stuff in that app for me. So I kind of have to have it near my head.
Yes, yeah, that's a really good point you mentioned. Like, it's just about creating the boundary between like your habits and behaviors so that you're setting yourself up for a successful day. So for me, that's like moving my phone across the room. I know like I could put I could put 100-pound weight on top of it. If it's next to my bed, I will find a way to the phone. So I need to move it. Like, so figuring out like what can you do to, one, set some boundaries between like yourself and your bad habits that don't make you feel good, and two, giving yourself the space to figure out what are my habits that do make me feel good, and using both of these as tools to start to create a better life for yourself where you can pursue financial freedom and making money doing something you love. Like, these are the things that allow you the space to do it. And starting a business forces you to do these things. Like, even if you don't listen to me or Michelle, but you decide to start your business or do something, you'll have to deal with these things eventually. So now, Michelle, we mentioned we would talk about setbacks, and even though that's like kind of what we've been discussing, I want to know like what your process is like in business. Like, if you get some bad news or things don't go your way, like, is the process any different, or do you just still return to like the mental and physical health side of things?
I feel like setbacks are such a natural part of owning a business, but they feel like setbacks, they look like setbacks, but they're really launching you forward, honestly. So in those moments, my mental and physical awareness and well-being is at the highest it ever needs to be, because I need to be so in tune with what's next, because I don't know what's next. But every time a door closes, and I tell myself this because it's happened so many times, every time a door closes, even if it's the best door I've ever had opened, I know it's just allowing room for a better one to open. It is literally giving space for the better one that I didn't even know was possible to open. And that has happened time and time again. And so it's like setbacks whenever a brand is like, you know what, we don't have budget, we've got to take a step back, or hey, we're going to end our contract in 30 days, whatever that looks like. I'm like, awesome, loved working with you. I leave on a good note. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm going to prepare for what's next. Now I'm going to be more aware than ever to keep my eyes open and be so in tune with myself, so I know which is the path that I need to take next. What about you?
Yeah, you made a good point. Before I get to my like what I do, I want to reemphasize that setbacks are so natural, just like you said. But oh my God, when you first get started, like every setback feels like a reason to shut down the business. Like every time you have those little mistakes or failures, it's like you just want to quit. You can't, and you're like, I can't do this. They become so natural at some point that you're just like, business is a little bit hard. Like people say it's hard and it doesn't have to be, but it's just hard because you're going to experience more losses than wins, at least at first, right? Depends on your business model and what you do exactly. But at first, I promise you're going to make way more mistakes than just immediately, oh my God, this worked perfectly the first time and I never have to change or iterate anything. Like that's not usually how it goes. And it can feel frustrating at first. But for me, when I have those setbacks, yes, I totally agree with you. Like, I trust the process, and I'm like, something good is going to happen to me soon because I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to let one little setback be the reason I decide not to do this. But I do the same thing. Like, I go back to my mental and physical health and my why. And I'm like, let me find the balance again between like health and manifestation, as well as like hard work that moves the needle forward. And let me just live in a space in between there that makes me feel good and proud every day, because like your business is not just about like how much money you can make. Like the point of having like financial freedom is freedom of time, not how much money you have. Like they go hand in hand to a degree, but as long as I'm still happy and I'm like utilizing my time, like I have time, if I have time to play yoga and golf, play basketball with my friends and just do things that make me fulfilled and like change someone else's life, I don't care how many setbacks I have to deal with because my day to day is good and I have that balance every day. Not every day, though, is going to be filled with good news where you just landed like your biggest deal of your life. You know, there's going to be a lot more no's than yeses.
Yeah, and it's at this point because it's happened so many times to me. And again, I tell myself this because it's just the reality. But every time an amazing door closes, I genuinely kind of get excited because I'm like, oh my gosh, what's coming next? Something huge must be coming my way. And I don't just tell myself that. I genuinely believe it. And it's like almost immediately I see, oh, that's why this wouldn't even be possible if I was still doing this other thing. And I just like trust that. So I think it's important. Yes, I could easily freak out about this big deal not being a thing anymore or the money, but I have set myself up to be okay to pay all my bills. I'm able to still do what I love doing. And it's just one of those humps in the road that we all experience. It's normal. It needs to be normalized. It's going to be okay. It's going to be even better because something that you're doing that is great is never gonna, like, you shouldn't go backwards in life. You should only proceed forward. So just because something looks like it's great and ending doesn't mean better things can't come. They must come. That is how life works in my eyes.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And like I used to experience that so much. Like I used to always judge the quality of my business. Like you should judge the quality of your business based on like people you've helped and like your positive testimonials and things. But I used to judge it based on like how much money I was making and is this a healthy business model? Which it makes sense to a degree. Like am I making more money each month than the last? Like of course you want to strive for that as a business owner, but I used to think that was like the only thing that mattered. And then on months where I made less or even nothing, I've had plenty of months where $0 were made in my business, and I used to just look at that and be like, how do I ever recover from this? But like you get used to setbacks, and learning to turn setbacks into fuel to make you work harder, become a better problem solver, and again, like address those character flaws that you have, like that's what starts to happen. So I love a good setback at this point because I know it'll just propel me forward. But like if you told me 2 years ago that like not that I'm hoping for setbacks, but like that my outlook on them would be this way, I would think you're crazy.
Right, because it sounds so unnatural and it's nice to feel comfortable at times, but it's like you said it, the creative problem solving. It almost makes you think outside the box because you can have a great thing going for you and stick to it for years, but I feel like there's so many opportunities, especially for a lot of us, that we don't even realize are there yet. And it's not until we get so uncomfortable and we're like, what are we going to do? Let me think about all the options that we start to think of an idea that we've never realized before that's been deep within us. It's part of our journey. So it's like, this should be a way to empower you to really think outside the box instead of just sticking with what you know is a good thing because you never know who you might impact, whose path you might cross, whose life you might change. And that is like the most successful thing, the most successful measurement to me. You're right. It's like, how many people am I helping? That is so important to me and way more fulfilling than like 100K coming my bank in a month. Like, I don't know.
No, you're right. You're so right. And at first, it doesn't feel that way. At first, like you're like, this business is gonna fail if I don't make $1,000. Like, screw a positive testimonial. But once you get it going a little bit, and you start to see that, like, okay, financially, I'm okay. I can breathe. And then the way you think of it starts to shift, and you're like, I really do just want to help people. Like, I really do just want to leave an impact. So once you like kind of hit that break even point with the finances where you're like, all right, I'm staying afloat. Let me focus now on like why I started this in the first place, like that fulfillment I wanted to feel. And almost every great project or invention or business model or anything like change in your business, these things always follow like a major failure or setback. Like most great inventions, most things were created on accident, which is really interesting to think about. Like, especially like medicines, like penicillin created totally on accident. So, even though it might have felt like a setback at the time, when you fail or a door just closed in your face and you're like, that was the only avenue I thought I had, I promise if you don't give up, something better and bigger is coming your way.
Yeah, it has to. That's how it works.
It's true. It's true. If you're not willing to give up, you won't fail. There's no way. If you are looking for more ways to monetize your creativity and find more freedom in your life, subscribe to our podcast, drop a rating, drop a review, get in touch with us. Tell us what you want us to talk about, or maybe if you've got a cool guest that you think should come on here. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Get Ahead with Nick. You can find Michelle on Instagram and TikTok at Michelle JH Michelle with two L's, four E's, JH. I have said that so many times. I am getting so good at it. That's all we got for today. Thanks for listening, and we will see you guys next time.